Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance, saving and investing most of the time. Some other times I talk about other things, like today when I'll be reviewing the new Kunle Afolayan directed Netflix film, Swallow. Swallow follows the life of Tolani, a young secretary in Lagos, Nigeria in the mid-80s. The pressures of surviving on a meager salary in hard times eventually weigh heavily on both Tolani and her roommate Rose, and they begin to consider getting into the narcotics trade for quick cash despite its many risks. Swallow is an adaptation of the 2010 book by the same name written by Seffi Atta. So I have to let you guys know in usual fashion that this review will contain spoilers. I will be disclosing certain things about the film, so if you haven't seen Swallow, I suggest you go and see it before watching this review. But I don't think that's such a big deal because by now many of you have probably seen Swallow. So yeah, there's that. And then bias alert as well. I'm a big fan of Kunle Afolayan and his movies, so no matter what I say in this review, I doubt if you hear me say that you shouldn't go and watch this film. All that said and done, let's talk about the performances in Swallow. Ijeoma Grace Agu. Ijeoma is a fantastic actor. She's one of the best actors in her class, in my opinion. I've been following her since back in the day during open mic theater and theater at Terra, which are events that used to happen here in Lagos like over 10 years ago. And even back then, she really used to wow us with her performances. She really embodies her character in a way that very few actors are able to do. And I really love seeing her on screen. She blew everyone away in this film, Swallow. Everyone I've, had a conversation with about the film has always mentioned her performance and how she really delivered with her role. She had a more prominent role in the film than I thought she would, but no complaints there at all. She was one of the better things in this film, and you'll probably hear that from a lot of people. If you're interested in trying out a new film, and if this film is on Netflix, I suggest you check it out to see another brilliant performance by Ijeoma. Check out Taxi Driver, Oko Ashewo. I saw that back in 2015 when it came in the cinemas. I'll check for it on Netflix, but that's a brilliant film. And if you're willing to try something new, check that out. Deyemi Okolawon, the hardest working man in Nollywood, in my opinion. Deyemi was really good in this film as Sonwo, the love interest or boyfriend of the lead character Tolani, played by Eniola. I'll come to Eniola's performance very soon. I know you're waiting for that. But Deyemi was really good. It was refreshing to see him in this kind of role as a character in the 1980s, which was a bit different. And it was nice to see him playing a good guy for a change. Because in the last film I saw him in, The Ghost and the Towel 2, he scammed, the main character in that film, Osaze's character, and also in Omogeto, which was one of his more recent performances as well, on Netflix and in cinemas around late last year. He scammed the lead character in that film as well, played by Funke Akindele. So yeah, it was nice to see him playing a sweet guy for a change. As many of you who have seen the film know, he borrowed money from Tolani, and we weren't too sure about his, intentions, and especially since he had been dating Tolani for 3 years and wasn't planning on settling down with her. He borrowed money from her, lost her money, and we thought that, he was just doing her dirty, but he redeemed himself at the end of the movie by paying her back. That was really sweet. And yeah, it was nice to see him in a positive role for a change. Now let's talk about the star of the movie, Niyola, or Eniola Akinbo. She's also my namesake. Fun fact, there are at least 3 Eniolas in this film. I'll get to that later. Anyway, so Niyola wasn't too bad. I've had several conversations about Swallow, and no one has said that Niyola was terrible. She was fresh. I think we didn't have preconceived notions watching Niyola in this film because this was her first film. So we just saw the character. We had to just take what we saw, and she delivered as far as the assignment, went. And it was the personality of the character Tolani was different. It was calm. And as I was watching, I kept on thinking about which other established actress would have been able to play this role. And I couldn't come up with any names. And I think that's why, or one of the reasons why Kunle Afolayan casts, brand new people in some of his movies. If you remember in Citation, which came out last year, which I'm really pained that I didn't review, he cast Temi Otedola as the lead in that as well. And I was wondering, why does he take these new people and give them the starring role? I guess it's because the audience wouldn't have a preconceived notion about these actors, and also because they're probably easier to work with. Their schedules aren't as busy as the more established actors, and they're probably more receptive and just easier to work with because the more established actors, the word on the street is that they can be divas sometimes. So I'm guessing that's why he cast Niola. If I ever get to have a conversation with Kunle Afolayan, I'll ask him why he cast Niola in this film and Temi Otedola in Citation. But Niola did good. I liked her performance. It was sufficient for the role. It wasn't mind-blowing, but I mean, doing a film of this nature and being in a Kunle Afolayan film, it's not easy, but she delivered. She was sufficient. It's very rare that a first-time actor would do like amazingly well, like Lupita Nyong'o did in 12 Years a Slave. Even then, she was in a supporting role, not a starring role. So that's a very different dynamic. What I liked about this film is what I like about pretty much all of Kunle Afolayan's films, which is incorporating Yoruba heritage and culture in the movie in a very contemporary and easily digestible way. I think it's something that's very unique to Kunle Afolayan. He does it in a very smart way. It's great publicity and PR for Nigeria and for the Yoruba nation or the Yoruba people. I love the way he finds a way to just embed it into his movies, even if it's just by the characters speaking Yoruba. Secondly, I loved the depiction of 1985 Lagos. It was extremely accurate. If you watch it and if you appreciate that kind of thing, you know that lots of thought and effort went into it, getting the vehicles that we saw on the roads, the costumes, the artifacts. I saw a plate, like a plate slash bowl that's like brown, that just took me back to my grandmom's house back in the day. It looked like one of the plates that she had. She had them in brown and in green as well. I mean, there are so many things that just resonated with me and that just really depicted a different era, an earlier era in Nigeria. It was so well done. I really appreciated that. No easy feat by any means. So kudos to them for that. Also, I loved seeing Western House, which was the building where Tolani, i.e. Niola's character, was working in. It's on Broad Street. My dad used to work in that building, I think like 20 plus years ago. And I've been to that building several times, going to his office and whatnot. And it's been there. It's one of those artifacts. It's one of those buildings that has just been there forever and that has looked the same all these years. It's still there right now. So it was fun to see that building that I'm very familiar with. Broad Street as well, which is the street where that building is situated on. Lots of scenes were shot around that street and lots of scenes look very familiar, like the canteen where they usually would go and line up to grab lunch. I think that was against the wall of Freedom Park. So many things looked very familiar and they managed to make it try and look like it was 1980s Lagos. The VFX that they did in the film or that they used in the movie, they were actually quite good. So yeah, those were just some of the things that I liked about the film. A lot of thought and effort went into the movie. What I didn't like. First of all, I didn't like those cutaways to people listening to the football match or football tournament on the radio. Knowing Kunle Afolayan, it's probably something that actually happened. There was probably a football tournament, a FIFA tournament in 1985 that everybody was interested in. So in the film, he kept on cutting to a group of people watching the match or listening to the match on the radio. It felt like it didn't have that much bearing on the film or on the rest of the story. That and those cutaways happened a few too many times. Secondly, there was a portion of the film where Tolani, the lead character, all of a sudden wants to start going to church. And I think this was to give Kunle Idowu's character, who was like the born-again Christian, a bit more screen time. It felt a bit out of place too, and it didn't really have much bearing with the story. Maybe they were trying to depict the rise of prosperity preachers in the 80s or something with that portion of the film, but I don't know if it really landed. Third, the flashback scenes. They kept on cutting to scenes of young Tolani, who was played by an actress whose name is also Eniola, so there are 3 Eniolas in this film. Young Tolani being counseled by her father or them having a conversation. 1 or 2 of those flashback scenes would have been sufficient, but there were just a few too many of them, in my opinion. Oh yes, at some point it felt like the film became a campaign for say no to narcotics or don't do drugs. All of a sudden, it wasn't really about this thing. It now became about this other thing of, the cons of trafficking narcotics. And yeah, it didn't feel, maybe it just didn't feel organic. I let it slide, but I feel maybe it could have been done a bit better. And it came out of nowhere, to be honest. And another thing is, I think this film didn't go in the direction that many of us thought it would go. I thought it would talk about, the cartel and, the business or the industry of people doing, the whole trafficking thing, trafficking narcotics overseas and whatnot. But it didn't really go beyond these few characters, trying to do this one thing. So, and I think this is the perception lots of other viewers had, and that kind of got them a bit disappointed. But like I told somebody on social media, I don't think it's the filmmaker's job to make a film that meets your expectations. It's debatable, but that's how I saw it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do remember to give it a like by clicking on that like button. It really is important. I really would appreciate it. And feel free to subscribe to my channel as well by clicking on the red subscribe button. In addition, I don't just do movie reviews like this one. I do lots of them, whenever I can, but my channel is more about personal finance videos. Why? Because personal finance is very important. Getting your money in order is paramount, especially in this day and age. So please feel free to check out some of my personal finance videos that are showing on the screen right now, or you can click the card in the corner of the screen to check out my personal finance playlist. In addition, if you like this type of content or this type of video on movie reviews, Nollywood movie reviews, then feel free to check out some of my Nollywood movie reviews as well. There's also a playlist for that. You can find that by clicking the card in the corner of the screen as well. I've probably reviewed one or two of your favorite recent Nollywood movies, either on Netflix or in the cinemas, so check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was longer than I expected, but hey, it is what it is sometimes. It's Swallow, it's Kunle Afolayan. Hey, I can make an exception. Thanks for the final time, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.